Right now, the National Weather Desk tracking the tropics, what we know about two new systems in the Atlantic. Hurricane Michael.
We're in bad trouble.
I get that.
We'll look back at a Category 5 storm 5 years after it devastated portions of Florida's panhandle.
But this one, catastrophic is the right word for this one.
Great grapes, how weather has impacted this year's crop in Michigan.
They say historically that stress fines give the best fruit.
And we continue to count down to this weekend's annular eclipse.
Everybody in the continental United States is going to experience the eclipse.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. So far this week, we're tracking a storm coast to coast. That storm now bringing more rain to the Pacific Northwest. This morning, several inches of rain could fall before the storm moves out. As it heads east, it could bring snow to the Rockies and rain, severe storms, and possibly flooding to the plains. Finally, it should be in the northeast by the end of the week, which could lead to a wet weekend. We are also tracking two systems in the tropics this morning. The one over in the eastern Atlantic is likely to develop into a tropical depression, but it's not a threat to land. The disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico has a low chance for development, but it could bring rain and wind to the Gulf Coast, including Florida. We're going to keep a close eye on that one this week as well. 5 years ago today, Hurricane Michael made landfall along the Florida Panhandle. NOAA says the Category 5 storm, it was directly responsible for 16 deaths and $25 billion in damage. We have several clips that look back on the storm's power and all that devastation. We start, though, with storm chaser Britt Adair, who found himself fighting for his life as he drove into that Cat 5 storm.
The scariest experience for me was Hurricane Michael 2018. We got in a situation where we had to abandon our vehicle as the storm surge came in, and I'm talking winds were over 100 miles per hour outside already with debris flying through the air.
We're in bad trouble.
I get that. I mean, but right here we can climb up the side of this house.
We got caught in the storm surge, unfortunately.
For Brett Adair, this is just another day at the office.
The truck ended up several hundred yards away from where we parked it, and we had waves hitting the windshield. We had a boat went over top of the truck, landed on the other side of it. If we'd been in the truck, we could have drowned.
Houses, condos, hotels, and inns are full of gaping holes, and the things that were inside of them on Wednesday morning are now in piles on the side of Highway 98. We're riding with a chaplain. He's here to pray with folks.
You know, I can't imagine if, that was my house and it happened to me. I'd probably want a minister to come pray with me as well.
Captain Jacob Williams led this mother, her son, and his girlfriend in a prayer. They're from Atlanta, and this was their vacation home. It's mostly a loss. They also have grandparents on Mexico Beach who live here year-round. Their homes are totally gone.
Normally when I'm watching the news, I'm like, man, they just overblow it, but this one, catastrophic is the right word for this one.
I've been through hurricanes before, but never nothing like this one. This has been really bad, really bad.
Betty Sweet was pushing up against her front door, trying to keep it from blowing in as Hurricane Michael battered her property.
Well, you can see, it's all over.
Betty came to Florida in '72 from New York. She and her husband owned an ice cream business, and this home was their own private sweet treat for retirement.
Did you think you were going to make it?
I didn't know. I just was praying to God.
Hurricane Michael's incredible strength was unusual. It is still one of just 4 to make landfall in the continental U.S. Meteorologist Emily Gracie looks at the history of these rare but deadly events.
Hurricanes are rated on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale, with Category 5 being the highest and most destructive, with sustained winds of at least 157 miles an hour. In the history of the United States, only 4 Category 5 hurricanes have ever made landfall. The first on record was the Labor Day hurricane of 1935. It devastated the Florida Keys, making landfall near Islamorada with winds estimated at 184 miles an hour. Next was Hurricane Camille in August of 1969. It hit the Mississippi coastline near Bay St. Louis. The weather instruments near the eye were destroyed by the hurricane, making it difficult to measure, but post-storm analysis estimated the winds near 175 miles per hour. Hurricane Andrew slammed into South Florida near Homestead in August of 1992. At that time, winds within Andrew were estimated to be that of a Category 4 hurricane. But in 2002, 10 years after landfall, upon reassessment, it was determined that Andrew was a Category 5 at landfall with peak sustained winds of 165 miles per hour. Most recently, Hurricane Michael made landfall in 2018 near Mexico Beach, Florida. Michael rapidly intensified in the warm Gulf waters right before landfall with winds of 161 miles per hour. Rare extreme wind warnings were issued even well inland as it held on to its hurricane strength into central Georgia. While these 4 storms have stood out in the record books due to their wind speeds, it's important to remember the devastation that has come and will continue to come from future storms due to storm surge and inland flooding. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
More cities are being built in high flood risk areas. Now, that's according to a recent report in the journal Nature. The report says from 1985 and extending over 3 decades, development in flood-prone areas grew by 122%. Researchers say there is more exposure to all types of flooding, but they note that coastal flooding is increasing at the fastest pace. East Asia and the Pacific region are the places with the highest exposure to flooding. Well, it's that time of year again when people flock to the Northeast for the change of colors. They're sometimes called leaf peepers, but they're not always popular with local residents. In Vermont, one well-known destination closed its doors this year to the frustration of tourists. Adam Sullivan has that story.
It's a bummer.
Corey Johnson and her mom turned on the Cloudland Road, hoping to see the Sleepy Hollow farm. But a road closed sign stopped them in their tracks.
Maybe they could do like a reservation system or something where they could people can just drive by, because that's all we were going to do. We weren't planning to stop or anything. We just wanted to see it because it looks beautiful.
The property has been a much sought after tourism destination in recent years, thanks in large part to social media. It is arguably Vermont's most photographed private home.
That was our biggest thing we wanted to do, was go to Sleepy Hollow. So, I mean, you win some, you lose some.
A little bummed out because the pictures are so great and it looks beautiful, but we've seen so many other really pretty things around here that I don't feel like we missed out.
Increasing tourism traffic on the road forced the towns of Woodstock and Pomfret to limit access for 3 weeks during peak foliage. Local residents say people were getting out of their cars, blocking emergency access, and trespassing on neighboring properties.
At the end of the day, we want people to come to Vermont.
The Windsor County Sheriff's Department is now patrolling the area on a regular basis.
We want them to enjoy the scenery. We want them to shop and enjoy their time here. But we also are asking people, please just be respectful.
This is the current status of the road. The quiet is a welcome sound to residents, who declined to speak on camera, citing unwanted national media attention surrounding the closure. Thankfully, out-of-towners say there is plenty to look at on pretty much any back road in Vermont.
Y'all have so much to offer till it's okay.
I feel like everywhere you turn, it's just so pretty.
And you know, it's getting colder outside, and that could bring out those fall colors, but it can also pose some risks to your car. Meteorologist Lindsay Storrs posted on Instagram about one way colder temperatures can impact your vehicle.
Tell me if this has ever happened to you. You get in your car on the first cold morning and you see this little symbol. After a little bit of investigation, you find out that your tire pressure is low. But you know your tire pressure was fine yesterday, so what changed while you were sleeping overnight? The temperature. That's what changed. So why does temperature impact tire pressure? Take a look. Air molecules behave differently depending on the temperature. When it's warm, air molecules move quickly and take up more space, so the pressure inside your tire is higher. When it's cold, air molecules move slower and don't take up as much space, so your tire pressure drops. So when you see that little light pop up, it's important to put more air in your tires. If you drive around on tires where the pressure's too low, it can cause tire stress and uneven wear, so you'll have to replace your tires more often.
And we'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how drought is impacting northern Michigan's grape harvest. And we'll find out how an annular solar eclipse is different than a traditional solar eclipse.
Well, low pressure system up to our north and west will continue to just sit there and spin as we head through the day today, into the day tomorrow as well. But notice more in the way of clouds over towards New York through the daytime today. We are going to see the threat for some scattered showers as well. There could be some isolated showers in areas in southern New England as well as Vermont. And then that continues as we head through the day on Wednesday. As we look at the temperatures for the daytime today, highs will top out in the 60s for most, 50s for some.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor, looking like things drying out as we head into Tuesday. Our latest weather maker continues to push off the coast. Sunshine breaking out, mixing with a few clouds here and there. I think it's a mix of clouds and sunshine overall as fair weather high pressure builds in. Our latest weather maker, and that's going to help pump temperatures up a little bit. 70 degrees in Baltimore, low to mid 70s in Virginia. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. 75 in Nashville, looking at Birmingham, 82, Mobile, 84, Charleston, 81 degrees, Jacksonville, 83, Tampa, about 86. You can see plenty of sunshine, clear skies up here around Atlanta, just some scattered clouds south as you get around Jacksonville. There's a frontal boundary down here that's going to kind of stick around, giving some clouds across parts of southern portions of Georgia along the Gulf Coast, but it looks like showers stay south.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Check out the thick fog blanketing the valley in Glacier National Park in Montana. People visit Oxbow Bend in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park for the awesome views that also included a layer of fog. As for rainbows, this double rainbow illuminated the sky near Albany, New York, and in Michigan, this viewer found a truck, not a pot of gold, at the end of this rainbow.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
We are just days away from the annular solar eclipse. Emily Gracie recently sat down with an expert to find out how an annular eclipse compares to a total solar eclipse and what you can expect to see where you live this Saturday.
Yeah, this eclipse coming up, which is on October 14th, it's a Saturday, is called an annular eclipse. And so that means that the moon is just far enough away from the Earth in its orbit where it's not going to block the entire sun. It's going to leave what scientists call a ring of fire around the sun.
What is it going to be like with the annular eclipse compared to a total eclipse? Is it going to get as dark or does it stay a little bit lighter?
It will stay a little bit lighter. You don't get that path of totality. You get a path of annularity. And that path of annularity is still awesome because you can see the moon moving in front of the sun. What you'll see, because the size of the moon is slightly smaller than the apparent size of the sun, it's the outer edge of the sun that you'll see, and it'll appear as this brilliant ring. You need to wear that eye protection during the annular eclipse the entire time, so you can see and observe that ring around the sun.
So it's not like the total eclipse where when that was in totality, you could actually take off the glasses. The annular, you need to keep them on the entire time.
Exactly. So keep those glasses on the entire time. And the reason why you don't want to look up at an eclipse is because if it's not total, it's way too bright. You'll damage your eyes.
So if you're not in that path that we see on the maps from NASA, are you still going to experience something?
Everybody in the United States, in the continental United States, is going to experience the eclipse. And if you have these glasses, and you can watch it safely. I'm here in Annapolis, Maryland. We can put them on, look up, and you'll see the moon blocking part of the sun.
And to hear even more about this eclipse and the total solar eclipse in April, check out this week's episode of Off the Radar. Dave will debunk some eclipse myths and discuss the behavior of animals during those few minutes of darkness. Find Off the Radar anywhere you get your podcasts. Northern Michigan is home to dozens of wineries and is a popular wine tourism destination. Meteorologist Trevor Roboto has a look at how the weather has impacted this year's crop.
This year has presented its fair share of challenges for farmers due to the drought over the summer. But sometimes the lack of rain is a positive for some crops.
We had a little bit of drought. We're irrigated here on the farm, so we were able to turn the water on, which was pretty nice. We did see a little bit of drought conditions early on. Sometimes that's nice. Grapevines like to be stressed a little bit. They say historically that stressed vines give the best fruit. So we're not too worried about a little bit of drought.
We've also had a warm beginning to the fall this year.
Hopefully we get a longer fall. That's the hope, is that we get the back end. That'll help us extend our season. We're pretty much in a sprint, as opposed to the West Coast is in a marathon as far as growing season goes. We are up and running fast, and the grapes have to ripen quickly. They have to harden off quickly so they can go into dormancy. And if we get this longer fall, that would be optimal.
And if we get an extended fall, Briggs is expecting a great harvest season.
If all things go well, then we're going to see a pretty good year, I believe, wine-wise across the area.
And for some, wine harvesting and processing has already begun.
Today we are pressing the last of some varieties, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, for sparkling product. And then we are getting ready to ferment a Minnesota cold hardy hybrid called Frontenac Gris.
In western North Carolina, debris burning is the #1 cause of wildfires, and right now 85% of the region is abnormally dry, and some counties are seeing moderate drought. Jennifer Emmerich looks at how crops are being impacted and steps you can take to prevent wildfires during the fall season.
Our last crop didn't make it because they didn't have enough rain.
While Tomas farms lost their corn crop, irrigation on some of their other McDowell County fields led to a robust haul to western North Carolina's farmers market. Peppers and tomatoes fared better in the drier weather. But with temperatures expected to have many turning to a heat source, these drier conditions have prompted warnings from the North Carolina Forest Service.
A lot of times people are dumping their stove ashes, and they'll rekindle and start fires as well.
There are also concerns around the beginning of fall cleanup. As property owners begin to clear leaves and burn debris, it's the #1 cause of wildfires in the mountains, with most outdoor fires human-caused. The North Carolina Forest Services encourages those doing cleanup in the current dry conditions to have tools on hand to keep burn piles from getting out of control.
It's been a warmer than usual start to fall, meaning in some areas the vibrant fall colors have not reached their peak. But in West Virginia, there's one area where, despite the slow start to cooler autumn temperatures, the trees are in full color, are colorful this fall. Meteorologist Doug Harlow takes us there.
It's been unusually warm, so not surprising that fall color is lacking around here. In order to see some beautiful fall foliage, we've got to go up. Way up. To Spruce Knob, the highest point in West Virginia at over 4,800 feet in elevation. And while it's been a very warm month of October locally, up here on the mountaintop at night, temperatures have consistently dipped into the 40s and 30s. This high point gets its name from the abundance of red spruce at the summit, but there are plenty of deciduous trees providing a canopy of gold, red, and orange. To get to the top of Spruce Knob, you can drive. There's a nice leisurely road that will get you up to the top here, along with a parking lot. But if you want to really challenge yourself, you can take the hiking route. Several trails will get you up here to the top after several arduous miles of hiking. A short climb up the observation tower at the top will provide a spectacular view. And what's great about this location is that even once the leaves have come off the trees up at the top of Spruce Knob, you can come up to this observation tower and get a look at the valleys below where the leaves won't be peaking for another 1 to 2 weeks. And if hiking and cold weather don't necessarily appeal to you, you can always enjoy the fall foliage from the worn confines of one of the many trains operating in the area, including the newest, the Greenbrier Express, that travels along the Greenbrier River between Cass and Durban.
We head to our second break. A surprising find in the middle of Virginia's Rappahannock River.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Take a look at your weather across the Midwest. Look at all this sunshine. Enjoy it as we continue into the Great Lakes. Still dealing with the remnants of Tropical Storm Philippe just spinning down some showers across Michigan. Tomorrow we got a warm front lifting to the north, so it's going to start warming up across the south. We got some 80s on the map there, including some scattered showers and storms. That rain continues lifting to the north, pushing that warmer air more into the southern plains in the Ohio Valley, and that rain continues north.
Good Tuesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and we'll see some cloudiness across South Texas and Louisiana, and a little bit of rain possible around Corpus Christi, maybe a few showers around San Antonio. Notice the temperatures in the 70s. Meanwhile, 80s, Oklahoma City into a Little Rock and Dallas, New Orleans around 80. Wednesday's forecast, area of low pressure just out over the western, northwestern Gulf with the best rain chance for coastal sections. Otherwise, we'll have sunshine 80s, but 69 for high New Orleans.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Typical fall weather moving through the west. We're still warm and toasty in the Valley of the Sun, 98 today out of Phoenix, but starting to cool off in the PNW with rounds of rain coming through Seattle and Portland. Back to the low 70s in LA, Salt Lake City going to see this first cold front dropping on down into Utah and the Rockies as the day goes on. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
This time of the year, waterspouts are common on the Great Lakes. Meteorologist Christian Palacio explains waterspouts and why they are so common there this time of year.
Late summer to early fall is a time when waterspouts are prone to happen across the Great Lakes. And here's why. They are very similar to tornadoes, except they happen over water instead of land. But here are the ingredients that help it form. We have warm lake waters at the surface and cold, dry air coming in from the north. The warm and cold air masses mix and they form a column of air. Then the thunderstorm updrafts the air, which eventually makes the column of air and misty waters vertically, forming a wall cloud. And if it doesn't touch the surface, it's just a funnel cloud. But if it does, then that is a waterspout, as you could see in this animation right here. Now, Lake Michigan sitting right around the 70s, according to what the graphic is showing here, especially around the southern portions of the lake, which is warm enough for the surface. As we transition to the cooler months before the lake temperatures cool down, we could possibly have more instances of waterspouts.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we look at how the weather is impacting apple crops in the Maryland and Virginia regions. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Tuesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.